は死んだ死んだこれでこの世界は俺のものだ恐怖に満ちた魔の世界を復活できるのだ
畜生よくも
最悪の事態になってしまうと泣かずともよいついでに貴様たちも始末してやる
なんだと
あの世で孫悟空と対面するんだな
For this episode of my character deep dive series, I want to take a look into my personal favorite character, Piccolo. I promise after this I'll do lesser characters again, but I just really wanted to highlight why I love him so much.
もう神でもピッコロでもない。本当の名も忘れてしまったナメック星人だ。じゃあ、行ってくる。
So to talk about Piccolo, we of course first need to talk about Piccolo Daimao, the great demon King Piccolo, or simply King Piccolo. Now this is essentially a story for another day, but he was the evil within Kami-sama who was purged from his body and then discarded, left to wreak havoc on Earth. But let's fast forward a bit. Upon his death, he spits out one last child, but he creates one in his own likeness and bestows upon him all of his memories and angst so that he may one day avenge him and carry out his plans for world domination. It's important to note two things. One, Piccolo is not Piccolo Daimao. He is not the same person, but he does possess the essence of him, which is why he's linked to Kami. And two, unlike a lot of reformed villains in the series, Vegeta, hell, Yamcha, he can never escape the evil within him. It is forever a part of him. His father will forever be a part of him until the day he dies. So no matter how much good Piccolo does, it's something he will always have to battle. So you're probably wondering why I wrote fathers, plural, in the title here. Demon King Piccolo was evil, of course, and the sins of his father is something he'll have to carry with him, as people who recognized him, of course, as Piccolo, assume he was the same Piccolo. But I personally feel Kami is just as much responsible for all the terror that his father did. Just after removing the evil half of himself for his own personal wants, which was to become, the god of the earth, he just left it on Earth to then destroy, kill, and try to dominate the entire world. This is something that he then tries to fix his own mistake later when he arrives at the tournament, willing to sacrifice himself if he needs to. I just think that it's very important to understand that Piccolo has, in a way, these two father-like figures that are both the cause of who he is. So the next time we meet Piccolo is 3 years later at the World Martial Arts Tournament Tenkaichi Budokai. He's had some growth acceleration, but I do think an interesting to note here is that he has only lived on Earth for 3 years. While he may have his father's memories and kind of the mind of an adult, he's still an adolescent, if you will, as in he doesn't understand everything from his own experiences. Compare this with Goku and friends. Goku's in his late teens, some of Goku's friends are in their 20s at this point, and here comes a child who has known nothing but hate, has never known love of any kind. Now, during the Tenkaichi Budokai, Kami decides to take responsibility for his actions. He has trained Goku to prepare for this confrontation with Piccolo, but he feels that if he can avoid everything, a fight, the Goku fighting where Goku may lose, and just take care of Piccolo with Mafuba, the sealing technique right here, then he could just spare everything. So, okay, fair enough. He fails and Piccolo wins. Then we get to Goku versus Piccolo, which is a remarkably underrated fight with some excellent fight moments in it. In the end, Goku wins. And then they have the choice of, should we finish off Piccolo? He's on the ground beat right now, or do something with him so that Kami doesn't disappear. Goku says, give him a senzu, and Goku revives Piccolo. Piccolo gets up, and he is confused at this point. Why would my enemy do this to me? I don't understand. So now, Goku's back at full power, Piccolo's at full power. There is no reason why Piccolo can't resume their fight right here. He technically almost beat Goku. It's really a close call in the end. Goku barely wins. There is no reason why Piccolo can't say, let's do it, and actually win this time. Instead, he runs away and says, we'll meet again, typical old-fashioned kind of villain thing to do. And I think a big point of that is because Piccolo right now is confused. He's emotionally conflicted. He was told by his father, within his mind, that Goku was the bad guy. And that you have to avenge me and you have to kill Goku. Goku's the bad guy. He killed me. But Piccolo now is just like, I don't understand, though. This guy's supposed to be this bad person who killed my father. Why didn't he kill me? I don't understand. And Piccolo then leaves.
バカ野郎何考えてんだ悟空
おめえがこのまま死んじゃったら神様も死んじゃうもんな。それにオラには宿敵がいなくなっちまうっていうのもちょっと寂しいしな。
忠告したはずだ。その甘さが命取りになるとな。今日のところはこのまま引き下がってやるが、そのうち必ず貴様を倒す。そして必ずこの世界をいただくぞ。
なんということだ。
ほら見ろ封じ込めちまえばよかったんだ。
また会う日までせいぜい楽しんで。
Over the next 5 years, Piccolo continues to train, trying to get stronger so that he can fight Goku. Now, I do find this quite interesting so 5 years is quite a long time. That's like someone saying, someday I'm going to do something big and they just never get off their ass and never do it. That's exactly what's been going on with Piccolo. He has all the stuff inside of him from his father that he's got to get revenge. He's got to take over the world. He's not doing anything. He's still very emotionally conflicted after everything that happened, and he doesn't really know what to do. And we do get the sense that he had been keeping tabs on Goku, therefore he saw that Goku is now having a family, a kid, but he doesn't do anything. Raditz shows up, which completely motivates Piccolo to get back in the game. And Piccolo has to go to Goku to say, you and I don't like each other, but we got to work together to stop this guy. Cool. We get an awesome little fight, and Goku decides to sacrifice himself. He tells Piccolo has his brand new move, his Makanko Sappo special beam cannon, and tells him just shoot. There's nothing we can do at this point. He shoots, and he has a smile on his face. He kills Goku. This is, in my opinion, I know a lot of people point out this moment here as Piccolo's big redemption thing here. This is the start of it. He, in a way, gets to purge so much of the ill feelings he had inside of him from his father of that Goku, you have to kill Goku. Even though that deep inside, as he says after this, he knows they're going to bring Goku back with the Dragon Balls. The point is just this one time being the person who kills Goku, it like a lot of pressure built up inside is let out, and he can breathe. And I think this is the start of it, the spark, if you will, of his journey towards the light. So of course, after Reddit says that 2 more Saiyans are coming and they're stronger than me, Goku's out of the picture for the moment. Piccolo, seeing Gohan's little hidden potential that he has, decides to take the boy and train him for the next year. This, of course, as everybody already knows, is where Piccolo does kind of start having an emotional change with him. He kind of develops a parental relationship with Gohan. You know, here was the son of his enemy. But as time went on during their training, he began to care for this kid and kind of also be protective over him. Now, I know from personal experience, I never wanted children. I was one of those, young guys who's just like, I don't need kids when I get older. Having a kid changes that. Having a small little child in front of you that depends on you makes you change. And I can see that's exactly what happened with Piccolo, is that this little boy who was dependent on him, Piccolo cared for him, didn't want to see this kid get hurt at all. So the Saiyans arrive, and we get this other bond I want to talk about, and that is Piccolo and Kuririn Krillin. Tenshinhan, Yamcha, they show up and they see Piccolo and they're like, what's he doing here? They're not so excited about it. Krillin shows up and he's just like, yo, let's go. All right, Piccolo's here. I know he's on my side now. Let's just do it. He doesn't question it. He doesn't say anything bad about the situation he's in. He's just like, let's do it. And he's one of my favorite characters. If you don't remember, watch my deep dive on Kuririn, why he's so cool. So, Kuririn also is aside from Gohan, the only person who firsthand witnesses what Piccolo does. I guess you could say Kami-sama as well witnesses what Piccolo does. Goku and everybody else doesn't see with their own eyes Piccolo making that sacrifice to save Gohan. But Kuririn seeing that, when he then meets Piccolo again on Namek, he knows that's not the same Piccolo Daimao and all that stuff. No, he knows that this is a new man. And Kuririn's able to accept him much easier than any other character.
情けない話だぜ。ピッコロ大魔王ともあるものがガキをかばっちまうなんてよ。最低だ。
おじいさん。
ご飯。俺とまともに喋ってくれたのはお前だけだった。
So let's move on to the big moment, as we can see right here. Anyone watching Dragon Ball Z for the first time, or whether you read the manga, Piccolo jumping in front of the blast to save Gohan, no one sees it. It's one of those scenes you just go, yo, and especially if you really watch it from the beginning, it's a little bit more impactful. As a kid, of course, I was like many Americans, where I saw Z before Dragon Ball, and therefore, this Piccolo guy, he's kind of like, I guess, an anti-hero or something like that. I didn't really know who he was, and then he dies to save Gohan. That's sad. I didn't have much connection. But when you do go back and then watch the series in order, you're like, oh, wow, okay, it's a bigger moment than I realized. And I do think this is the start of it. The fact that he's willing to throw away his own life for not just a child, but the child of his enemy, the person his father despised, the person who killed him. And here he was throwing his life away for this little boy. You know what I mean? So this is just like hence why it's one of the greatest Piccolo moments, period. But I think this is it. Yeah, from this moment onward, Piccolo begins this long road to redemption.
ここがふるさと。ナメック星か。なるほど。妙に懐かしい気分だ。俺の中に流れるナメック星人の血がそう感じさせるのか。
Now, on planet Namek, you got Gohan and Krillin trying to get the Dragon Balls to bring their friends back. They manage to do so, and they, of course, can only bring back one guy at a time, so Piccolo convinces them, hey, bring me back, which is actually not a bad idea because it brings back Kami-sama as well. And he says, and then send me there because I want to help fight against Frieza. They do so. Piccolo arrives on Namek. Now, this is an extremely important moment in his life. When he first arrives, he takes it all in. He just kind of like looks around. It's alien to him, but at the same time, it's not. He gets this sense that this is my home. And he then comes across Nail, who's dying after having been defeated by Frieza. He tells him, hey, fuse with me, do this type of fusion where, you'll absorb me into your body. Piccolo will then get a huge power up. But he then will also have gained Nail's memories and thoughts, but keeping his own mind intact as like he is Piccolo still. Now, this is important for a few reasons. Why this is important is because Piccolo first gets to see his homeworld with his own eyes, but he knew nothing about it. After gaining Nail's knowledge and memories of growing up on the planet, he now has a connection to his homeworld. He kind of remembers people. He remembers the family that lived over there and the kids from over there, because now he has all these memories in his mind. It almost, in a way, makes him more Namekian than he had ever been. And this is another push in that redemption that he's going towards, is now he has this connection to his home race, to his real race, something he never had before. Basically, he grew up thinking he was a demon. That's what Piccolo, King Piccolo thought he was. He was just this evil demon. They didn't know they were aliens. Then he learns he's an alien. Then he now gets to learn about his people and have all these memories inside of him. And it just makes him now want to fight for the planet, if you will. So, of course, he then meets up with Gohan and the rest, and he's ready to fight against Frieza, and, surprisingly can fight against someone with 1,000,000 power level. It's where the kind of parallels get silly, but the point is we get a cool fight between Piccolo and Frieza. It's really cool. And then Goku arrives, and as we talk about redemption, I do want to talk about something here with Goku. Goku, the last time he saw Piccolo, was killed by him, of course, though, not out of malice, but more for, desperation. And Piccolo and Goku were not on good terms. Piccolo was basically saying, I'm still going to hate you forever, blah, blah, blah. But Goku knows what happened. Gohan told him, Piccolo saved my life, etc., and trained me. Goku and Piccolo seeing each other after all this time had passed, there is no tension. There is no, can I trust you? None of that. Goku shows up like this, heads up Piccolo, and Piccolo shows up and he's like, oh, son, it's you. They're already on good terms. There's no conversation needed between these two, and there's just something magical about that two rivals like this don't even have any type of, are we sure we can do this together? They're just like, yo, what's up? Let's go, let's do it. And they're already on the same page, and I just think that's amazing, of course. So after Frieza gets hit with the Genki Dama, Frieza survives it, because he's a beast, Frieza. And his first target is Goku, of course. And Piccolo does, again, a remarkable thing, and jumps in the way of the attack, getting shot in the chest, nearly killing him. And the fact that he not only sacrificed himself to save Gohan, but then does the same thing to save Goku, says a lot about his character at this point. the android's arrival in the next 3 years, Piccolo, Gohan, and Goku train together. And it's just a wonderful little moment. It's in the manga as well. In the anime, it's a little more extended, but it just shows how these three kind of become really close. And I actually really like that. But when it becomes abundantly clear that 17 and 18 are just ridiculously too powerful, they can't stop them, Piccolo remembers something that Nail told him, which is if you were whole again, as in you're half with Kami-sama, if you were one being again, you could become even more powerful. Piccolo decides this is it. I got no choice. He goes up there and it kind of demands Kami-sama. He's like, we got to become whole again. He's like, but Kami's a little on edge about it because doing so would mean he would cease to exist in the will, as in Piccolo would be the main and Kami would just be part of him. And there would be no Kami on Earth, no Dragon Balls either. Of course, he then gets a disturbance in the Force and senses something else is more menacing than 17 and 18 and says, we got to do it then. And then they fuse. Now, this is amazing for one thing because we learned from his fusion with Nail that he gains the knowledge that Nail had. Kami-sama has insane knowledge of the other world, of gods, hence why later in the Buu Saga, when he sees Kaioshin, he knows who Kaioshin is. He knows because he has Kami-sama within inside of him. And this is taking this character that started out as just this boy who was hell-bent on revenge, is one of the most knowledgeable characters in the entire series, probably is the most knowledgeable character in the entire series. And I just think that is another large step ahead in, just becoming such a great character. During the Cell games, Piccolo was a bit sidelined, but everybody's sidelined, to be honest. And then Goku, of course, sends Gohan in, expecting Gohan to get this rage and then defeat Cell. But at first, he's not working, and then Cell's just slapping around Gohan. And Piccolo has this amazing moment where he yells at Goku. And he tells him, what are you doing? He's like, what do you think? And Goku says, oh, but when he gets angry, it'll be okay. And he's like, you know what that boy's thinking right now? Why is my father doing this to me? Why is my father letting this happen to me? He's like, that's the only thing going through your son's head right now. And then there's that great moment where Goku's like, shit, you're right. And then realizes, okay, give me the sense, I got to get in there. Cell stops him. And everything leads to, of course, Gohan actually transforming. But just again, that moment of Piccolo showing how much he cares about Gohan, and he, before Goku, can't even stand to see Gohan suffer. He can't. So after that, of course, things don't work out too well, as Cell then decides, you know what, if I'm going down, I'm taking you all with me. Goku makes his sacrifice and decides to save everybody by taking Cell away. And Piccolo legit mourns Goku here, and it's a wonderful moment. Gohan, of course, takes it the hardest. It's his son. He jumps, falls to the ground, screaming, "Father!" But then you see Piccolo in the back, with his head down, it hurts. He created this bond with Goku over the past few years when they trained, and they've gotten close. Now they're friends, and I just loved seeing Piccolo take it in that, that Goku's dead, and it actually affected him emotionally.
皆さん仲間かね。
まあな。
いやー、結構。あなた、もう前の時みたいに会場を破壊しないでくださいよ。
さあな。
So several years have passed, and Piccolo kind of resides on Kami's lookout now, which kind of makes sense. Chills with Dende and Popo, as he has connection to both of them now, in an interesting way. Goku announces he's coming back. He wants to come back, see his friends for just, one day. Piccolo, legit happy to see Goku, of course. So when they get to the tournament, there is a great thing, because the announcer, of course, is the same announcer since the very beginning when Goku was a kid. It's the same guy. He sees Piccolo, of course, who's trying to hide his identity, and he's like, hey, try not to blow up the ring this time. And it's just a really cool moment for one thing that maybe people didn't catch. The last time he saw this guy was evil. He was trying to blow up the world. He was this evil madman. All he needs to do is he sees this guy is with Goku in the gang, then he must be good now. It is just one of those small little things I just really like. It's just so subtle. And that guy who knows Goku and the gang, they're the ones who really beat Cell. He's kind of one of those characters. He just he's seen these characters long enough that he's like, yeah, I know about you guys. And he sees Piccolo hanging out with Goku and the rest of them. He's like, all right, you're a good guy now, so I get it. And I just really think that's a cool little moment that is in there. So once the plot gets moving, Piccolo is turned to stone by Dabura. And then Boo finally emerges. Gohan is blasted away and is assumed dead. When Vegeta arrives to fight Boo, he even says, I'm going to, avenge Gohan in a way. So, like, Piccolo hearing this is like, well, what? And this really hits Piccolo hard. This is someone Piccolo thought, would never be killed, if you will. So Piccolo hearing this, I mean, even we as an audience know he's okay because Kaioshin, saved him. But for anybody like Piccolo or even Goku, Vegeta, even, they all believe Gohan dead at this point. It's, that's a big thing, Gohan. It's that little boy from, that we watch grow up. And then Vegeta. We get to the Vegeta stuff, which I did mention in my top 10 Vegeta moments that I personally feel that Piccolo understood Vegeta more than any character in the series, more than Goku, more than anybody else. And Vegeta, in a way, respected Piccolo. They were very similar, that they were not the type who would just be like, hey, have a fun laugh. And they were the quiet types, the serious types. They both like training, fighting, and even though both had change of hearts and became good people, at the end of the day, they were still very similar personalities, actually. Both of them, if needed, would take out an enemy in a heartbeat. Though I do feel Piccolo is a bit better than Vegeta for the fact that, as he points out during the Cell stuff, he gets a little pissed that Vegeta doesn't just finish off Cell and he's like, letting him become perfect. It seems that if Piccolo had that kind of power, he would have taken care of Cell right away. Pretty interesting to note. But going back to Vegeta, he makes that sacrifice. And of course, he has the moment he asks Piccolo, he's like, will I be able to see Goku again? He's like, probably not. And, he's honest with him, and Vegeta has a smile on his face. I don't think he's smiling because he can't see Goku. That probably doesn't make him feel happy. He's smiling because, Piccolo's one of those guys. Piccolo's the guy who will always be on a shoot straight. He doesn't bullshit him. And then he tells Piccolo to take the kids and get out of here. And Piccolo tells him, you're planning to die. I know it. But even though Piccolo says that line to him, which I always thought was weird, after Vegeta explodes, Krillin flips out. He's like, what, Vegeta, what's happening? Piccolo, he even screams like, Vegeta, like, so Piccolo, in a way, like I said, really had almost this respect for Vegeta. And when Vegeta dies, Piccolo's shocked, he can't believe it. So I do think that's just another really interesting bond that Piccolo may have, is that, in a way, connection he has with Vegeta. In Dragon Ball Super, he's very much sidelined like pretty much all the side characters, until we get to the Tournament of Power arc, which is one of my all-time favorite arcs in the entire series of Dragon Ball. One of the main reasons is side characters get a chance to shine in this. And of course, what makes this great is that Gohan goes to Piccolo and says, I want to train with you.
見てみたくないか。果たして自分がどこまでいけるのか、どこまで強くなれるのか。大会までまだ時間がある。俺とやってみないか。残りの時間でどこまで強くなれるのか。
もっと強く。はい、お願いします。あ、だったら合体技とかコンビネーションとかを作りませんか。
お前とか。
はい、絶対に武器になると思うんです。
面白そうだな。いいだろう。
This makes Piccolo smile. This is everything coming full circle. He started out with this little boy who was scared of everything. To see him grow and become a warrior, to save the world, and now like want to be on the same level as him. And it just makes Piccolo smile. They train together. But one more thing happens before the tournament. Goku needs to recruit somebody else, and he recruits Android 17. And I knew it was going to happen, but I really wanted to see it was Piccolo and 17 are going to meet each other again. Oh my God. I was kind of more intrigued about that than Goku meeting 17 for the first time. And they give us the great fan service moment. 17 comes, Piccolo goes right up to him, and they get that kind of serious stare down, and then the smile and the handshake. I think every fan in the world is just like, that's so cool. Like, these two have one of the most epic fights in the entire series. Like, literally, probably the coolest fight ever. And now he sees him, they see each other, and they're just like, what's up? And it's just a really cool moment. So let's get to the actual tournament. In the tournament, Gohan and Piccolo do work together, and there's some really cool moments. But Piccolo then meets the Namekians from Universe 6. And there's just this really big emotional moment here. And when he learns what they sacrificed just to be here and just to try to save their universe, it hits Piccolo really hard. In the same way, I guess, Vegeta feels about the Saiyans from Universe 6. He feels that these are his people. He doesn't have people here anymore. Well, Piccolo, in a way, still, the Namekians are still alive in Universe 7. Anytime he meets more of his people, there's definitely this emotional bond, if you will. After this, there's a moment in this tournament I like, and that is when Vegeta does his big explosion attack.
あれだけのエネルギーを爆発させて無事だったとは。スーパーサイヤ人ブルー、そしてその先、前に同じ技を使い死んでしまった時とは比べ物にならないほど奴は強くなった。
Piccolo looks down, he's like, seeing Vegeta survives this attack this time, smiles and is like almost praising Vegeta that he was able to now use this blast of an attack, if you will, without killing himself. And just seeing again Vegeta get praised by Piccolo, showing these two characters have this cool little connection, I think is really nice. Now finally, we're going to get to Superhero. Probably one of my favorite Dragon Ball movies, as essentially it's the Piccolo movie. And I, as a Piccolo fan, I go like crazy for this movie. Gohan jumps in at the end of the day to, at the end of the movie to save the day, whatever. But still, it's Piccolo's movie. It's got comedy, Piccolo's badass in it. It's got a lot of cool stuff. Toriyama in the end, he wanted to take Piccolo and Gohan and put them back on the same level as Goku and Vegeta. So this was the reason for this movie, is that he just wanted those four characters to be the equals. They're all about the same power now. So, and I do kind of respect that decision. I think, taking Gohan and Piccolo, keeping them up there is just something really cool. So in the film, Piccolo becomes almost like a guardian figure for Pan. And this is, of course, adorable, but it makes perfect sense. Gohan is past the point of needing protection. He's a fully grown adult at this point. But Piccolo trains and takes care of his daughter instead. He does show disappointment that Gohan doesn't train anymore, but I do think there's almost this beautiful, like, poetic thing that he now is taking care of the next generation for Gohan. Like, it's still connected to Gohan. This is Gohan's daughter. And he's like, then I will be here to protect that kid. And I just think there's something really beautiful about that.
ピッコロ大魔王だな。残念。俺はただのピッコロだ。どういうことだ？いろいろ複雑なんだ。
So now in this movie, Piccolo meets, the two new androids. And he, of course, the Red Ribbon Army keeps referring to him as Piccolo Daimao, King Piccolo. And it's a big important part of this story. And it's that, he keeps saying, I'm not King Piccolo. I'm Piccolo, And in the beginning, it's kind of played off as, that's not who I am. But later on, after he uses the dragon, he gets his hidden potential awakened, if you will. And then there's this moment where he's, fighting again. And he just straight up says it with such confidence that I'm not Piccolo Daimao. He's like, I am just Piccolo now. And he says it with such confidence. And I think for me personally, as we're getting to the end of this video, this is like kind of the end of his redemption. He is willing to, he doesn't feel any ill feelings about being mistaken for his father anymore. He's just like, no, that's not who I am. He has finally gotten past all of this shit in him, if you will. And he's willing to just calmly even say, no, that's not me. I'm Piccolo. I'm not Piccolo Daimao. And I just think that's that full circle. Like now this is the new Piccolo. He is fully reformed at this point. And you could say, well, Michael, he's been reformed a long time. Yes, but I do think that the way he announces himself here is just, that's, I guess, more direct, like him saying, I'm Piccolo. And I just think that's a real good way of doing it. Once Cell Max arrives, Piccolo then is able to convince Gamma 1 and 2 that the Red Ribbon guys are the bad guys. We are not the bad guys. And I just think this is one of my favorite moments of this is not Piccolo being big, strong, and then, getting his hidden power and then, becoming Orange Piccolo. None of that. It's the diplomacy side of Piccolo, where he could at this point kill Gamma 1 and 2 probably. Piccolo's really strong. But instead he basically tells them, he's like, we're not your enemies. And then they work together and they fight against Cell Max. Gamma 2 sacrifices himself. And even though it's very, very brief that these two have known each other, Piccolo shows genuine, I guess you could say, empathy for this character that's just died, this robot, if you will. It's not even a living being, you know what I mean? So like, Gamma 1 and, they're kind of mourning Gamma 2 and Hedo. Sorry, I got the little Hedo figure. They're mourning Gamma 2's death. And Piccolo comes over and says comforting words. You know what I mean? This, for me, is huge. The movie's called Superhero. Now, of course, there's a lot of points in this. We have Hedo being obsessed with superheroes and wanting Gamma 1 and 2 to become like superheroes. You then, of course, have the Dragon Ball gang, the Z Warriors, if you will. They're kind of superheroes in the world. They save the world over and over again. Cool. But what makes Piccolo a true superhero is not that he's super strong and fights villains, but that he can empathize with others and then use his wisdom to comfort those in need. That is what a true superhero does.
Ah, せっかく助けてもらったのに残念だった。
何をしたんだあの時。
残ったエネルギーを一気に使ったんだ。
おかげであいつの攻撃力が落ちた。スーパーヒーローだったな。
お前たちこそ。
ありがとう。おかげで世界は救われたよ。
礼を言うのはこっちだ。
I had someone just last week. On the back of my phone, I have like stickers of Piccolo, and they're like, hey, why do you like Piccolo? In Japan, most people would like Goku or Vegeta. Like, yeah, of course, I think those are, the main characters people mostly like. But there was like, why Piccolo, someone said to me. And I said, because Piccolo's the greatest example of anyone can change. Doesn't matter what you did in your past, what mistakes you made, how many bad things you may have done in your past. You can always do the right thing in the end. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that this was a little bit longer than the usual deep dives, but I hope this video basically either helped you kind of see Piccolo in a new light, or maybe just reminded you of how great of a character he really is. The next deep dive I'm doing is a lesser character again, so don't worry. But the deep dive after that will begin a new series of deep dives, which is my Deep Dive Villains series. So you can definitely look forward to that. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.